when someone said that you were special in the mid-'70s, it meant something different than it means now. And especially when your parents can't afford daycare and they enroll you in a program in a daycare in a place called the Progress Center. And it's like a home and a daycare for physically and mentally handicapped children. So this was the beginning of my school life. I spent in a very uninhibited kind of environment, and which kind of helped me in hindsight because I was really into wearing costumes, and I was really into Japan. Yeah, I wasn't into any of the other things that, your average boy in rural Kelso, Washington was into. So in school, people would say, you're so special, you're so talented, and you're so special. And I started to think, this isn't necessarily what I want to be. I don't want to be special. And but I couldn't be any other way. It was kind of like, what am I gonna do? Wear like brown corduroys and play with cars? Like, no. So, it's like I'd much rather play like a wicked witch with a cauldron of fire and, dress up like Dorothy and go visit the Mormon farm family up the road. And tell them about Buddha. And yeah. So there was a neighbor across the street, and she was the rich girl. It was funny, we were talking about rich classmates in grade school in the back. But her name, she lived across the road really, and her name was Jackie Buckles. And for real. And it was her house, it was her parents' house, but it was this ranch style, red and white, all these lawns. There was just woods all over the place, and we basically lived in like a shack. But she had this manicured lawn, she had a horse, she had a pinball game in her room. She had those, think like 1975 pigtails with the big, like, crystal balls, like the little, like, and a canopy bed and white bread. And, she didn't have well water and, like halva, like what, and raisins. She had cool stuff over there, things that I'd never seen before. And it was always, I kind of was jealous of this chick, like she's got her, Sean Cassidy posters, and I had to draw my own posters. And my mom was a housewife. My dad wouldn't let my mom work. It actually would have made it so maybe I wouldn't have had to go to the Progress Center for daycare. But he wouldn't let her work. And so he would go to work and she would be at home watching daytime soaps or rug hooking, like latch hooking rugs, or candle making, or doing the dishes, or, toll painting, or decoupage, or whatever moms did in, like the mid-'70s. So one day I got home from school, like probably kindergarten or first grade, and I was like, hey, Mom, I'm going to go play in the yard. And she's like, all right, Adam, just like stay in the yard. Don't cross the street. Don't go anywhere too far. So I don't know. I was probably, dressed as Olive Oil from Popeye. And I was going to reenact, some of the Shelley Duvall moves. I was like, with my wig made of yarn and my socks rolled down, just like the movie. But I was like, I'm going to go across the street to Jackie Buckles' house. And so I went across the street, and no one was home. So I tried all the doors, And the doors of the house were locked, but the doors to the garage were open. So I opened up the garage. I've never been in their garage. And I open up the garage door and close it behind me. And I'm looking around, and there are all this like fishing equipment, and there are like old tires and things like that. And I'm thinking, oh, this is cool, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I get ready to leave, and the door is locked. And I realize I can see my house through the little slits in the ranch-style garage door, and I could see the little slits, and I could imagine my mom in there watching like all my children. And I started freaking out. And when I say freaking out, I mean like Lord of the Flies, special kind of freak out. At one point, I just like tore all my clothes off, and I found some spray cans of paint, and I started spraying in the air and spraying all over my body, spraying all over the floor. I popped open like a can of varnish and poured that all over the ground and like rolled around all the way on it. Went totally, I would say, pretty nuts, pretty crazy. Like I was like, I'm never gonna get out of here, and this is my new place. And when I saw my dad drive in from work, I just started screaming, and I took like all this stuff and busted the windows of the garage door. And finally, they came to my rescue, and it turned out that the door was actually unlocked the whole time. It was just that it's sticky.